Hello and welcome to Safari Live. My name is Brent Leo Smith and that is the Nkahuma Pride. We have Andrew Francis on camera and on the other vehicle is James and Brian. And in final control we have Lou and Tara. And behind the scenes, who's been working like a madman today, has been Eugene. So welcome here to Djuma Private Game Reserve. James is heading off to Arethusa to see what he can find that side. And we're with the Nkahuma Pride. So great to be able to spend some time with these animals. We were with them briefly this morning before the rain sent us packing. And of course not. Doesn't look like any rain this afternoon. Bright sunshine, hot, 30 degrees Celsius, in the 70s Fahrenheit. Lions are lying up, having a snooze. Betty's still full of giraffe meat. But it's quite interesting that they've moved here now. Oh, there we go. Waking up. And it's unlikely that these lions are going to move for quite some time today, especially in this heat. If they do move, it's going to be much later. And that lioness that Andrew's popping the camera on now is a favorite to many of the viewers. That is the amber-eyed lioness, the one who gave James a look to kill. Looking quite docile at the moment though. So all 5 lionesses of the Nkahuma Pride present and accounted for. Young Junior is not, however, and he was not with them on the giraffe kill last week. So there's a strong possibility that he might have now moved along. For those of you who might be new, wondering who Junior is a young male, probably just over 3 years old, and is about the right time. He's actually taken quite a long time to leave his natal pride, and hoping he has decided to go and try set off and find some other coalition members for himself, maybe in a few years an area for himself to take over with other male lions. But there's also the possibility that he had a run-in with another group of male lions and has become retired. Unfortunate, but that is nature. And what we view here sometimes is difficult to see, but it is nature at its most raw and its purest. And also sometimes at its most sedate. So unlike the documentary world, where you film for a year and pack every exciting punch into 45 minutes, we are live, so we get to experience a lot more real behavior and in real time. And we do our best to explain and try help you teach teach you about the African bush on these drives by taking questions from our viewers wherever they are in the world. And you can do that by emailing us some questions at wildearth.tv, or if you're a bit more technologically savvy, you can use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Also, we encourage you guys to get screen grabs and pop them onto our Facebook page, or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Share them with everyone else, and we really do enjoy seeing them and interacting with you guys. So very, very quiet, that sort of humid heat. We can hear an oriole, a black-headed oriole in the distance. A very beautiful sort of chortling call. And apart from that, we can hear some cicadas buzzing away. You'll notice that lioness quite often looks up to the sky, and their eyes are designed and adapted to pick up movement, and they will watch for vultures, although I don't think she has spotted a vulture. I think she has spotted a passing Warburg's eagle, and you can see she's lost interest. So if they do see vultures dropping, they have been known to react to that, but I think it's a nap time again. So the lioness currently with her back to us, closest to us. That one there is the amber-eyed lioness, and Stacey was wondering which one that was. Pride's had quite a hard time over the last while with the Birmingham coalition coming in, and they have lost 2 lionesses in that time. One young female who was under 2 years old, and one adult lioness. They're still relatively well fed. So apart from the twice daily live safaris, we have got cameras strategically placed at waterholes, 2 in the Sabi Sands here, 1 on Djuma and 1 on Arathusa, both areas that we traverse. And there seems to be a lot of concern from our viewers. At the moment, there is a lone buffalo calf, or he's not alone, he's with a group of buffalo bulls. And they're wondering, is this normal? And they're a bit worried about him. It's not normal, and there was a herd of about 400 buffalo that passed quite close to the Djuma camp this morning in the rain, and they have probably been chased by these lions, and quite often buffalo calves do get separated from mothers and the breeding herd in the pandemonium that ensues with a lion pride chasing them. And you probably find that that young buffalo has just attached himself to those bulls. And from a safety and numbers point of view, I obviously cannot see it sitting here with the lions, so I'm not sure whether it is weaned or it is still suckling. If it is still suckling, it could be in a bit of trouble. Sorry guys, just got to be on the game drive radio for a second. Oh no, Peggy boy is on it.
Getting on to Swindon now.
So you will hear me at the moment. So we've fought the good fight, and we've got the majority of the technical difficulties sorted out. And it turned out, for some very strange reason on the vehicle that Andrew and I are using this Sunset Safari, that every time we used our radio to speak to Final Control, it would cause the signal to go. So we are operating on handhelds, which also means I unfortunately cannot put the game drive radio in my ear, so you might hear a bit of waffling and a bit of beeping from R2D2, is what we named the new digital radios. They make some strange noises, and so after, there we go, beep, every time it talks or you push a button, beep, beep, it makes lots of noises that remind me of the Star Wars character R2D2. So with that buffalo calf, if these lions, let me just put that under the blanket, talking a lot. So that's what we have in our ear quite often. So I'm hoping maybe these lions will head towards those buffalo at the Djuma Dam, and we might see some hunting tonight. But I don't think that's going to happen for quite a while. So everyone seems to think that baby buffalo is about a year old. Of course, I'm not going to weigh in until I can actually see the buffalo, but we will maybe go have a look, and we'll spend a little bit more time with these lions. But I think we're probably going to wait till the next vehicle to arrive, and then we'll head out to see what else we can find. And I'm pretty confident these lions are definitely not going to move before 6 o'clock this evening, unless something happens to stumble in towards them or stumble into them. But I'm quite sure the other game drivers are on their way, so they can keep a watch out. And finding animals out in the African bush is very much a team affair, and we're in constant contact with other guides in the area, and we keep each other updated to bring you guys the best safari possible. Sorry, I was just going to be on the radio for a second. station. As soon as first vehicle arrives here, I'll make space for you guys, and I'll just come back later.
Okay, copy that. Thanks very much. That's still very flat.
FM, very, very flat.
Great.
FM, same place. So, occasionally we get what I like to call the 1,000-yard stare from a lion, and Gilly in Milwaukee is wondering, how do I feel? Well, Gilly, I start quivering in my boots. No, I don't, but sometimes they can give you that look that just starts making you feel slightly uncomfortable. But unfortunately, I've been stared at by a few lions, both on foot and on the vehicle. And one must remember, their eyes don't exactly work like ours. So I'm quite sure that they're aware that something's there, but they don't know it's a person. It's the reason, even though I'm sitting up on the door now, but if I was to stand up, it would be a very different situation. The lions would either run away or become aggressive. And it's because they see the bipedal or upright figure of man as another dominant predator, and obviously dominant predators are not fond of other dominant predators in their space. So as long as we keep our shape non-bipedal or non-hominin, and one must remember our hominin ancestors and ourselves have been roaming the African savannas, in our current form for about 200,000 years, and in our previous forms for a couple of million years. And we have been in competition with these big cats and their ancestors. So we do have a mutual respect. So during the day, if you walk into lions, 99.99 9% of the time they'll actually run away from you. We have the advantage in the day. We are able to deal with heat far more efficiently by sweating. They can't, and if their body temperature raises by too much, they can actually become in danger on very hot days if they move around too much. But as soon as night falls, we forgo all our advantages, and they have all the advantage. They're able to see, and we go from a danger to them to a snack. And so that is why instinctively we want to go home when it gets dark. It's sort of from when we lived on the African savannas, we need to get back to the cave or the camp to be safe from the marauding lions. Although they don't look so scary and marauding right now. So we got an update, if I remember correctly, it was from John in California this morning, and now again from Donna, saying there was a young male lion seen on the Coral camera. Coral is a lodge to the east of us, and that is thought to be Junior. Donna, I haven't seen the pictures, so I'm not going to speculate. It could very well be Junior. It could also be another young male lion moving in from the Kruger. They are very close to the Kruger National Park boundary there. All the Manuletti. So it sounds like the first vehicle is arriving, and it's Taxon from Juma with his guests. So as I said, I think this is about all the action that's going to be happening here. So once Tax is in position, we're going to move out, go see if we can find some elephants. Maybe we should go look at that buffalo that's at the Juma Dam Cam, and we can go see how old it is. We've got a very, very interesting question from Lisa. and it might be referred to one of my tweets or Instagram photographs over the last while, and I might hashtag a phrase, Go Bokke, and she would like to know what the phrase Go Bokke means. There's old Amber. I'm going to roll over now. And, well, Lisa, in South Africa we have a very proud sporting history, and particularly quite a lot of us, and especially, well, in our camp, James, Andrew and myself are very avid book supporters. And what that means is we support the South African national rugby team that is called the Springboks, or the Bokke, or Boks for short. Go Bokke would just be supporting them. They actually kick off in an absolutely massive World Cup semi-final in about an hour against our arch rivals New Zealand. And pretty much as rugby goes, that is probably the toughest rugby game in the world for both sides. Springbok versus New Zealand, the two of the top teams in the world meeting in the semi-finals of the Rugby World Cup in Twickenham in England. And what we have done, while James and myself, we have recorded the game, and we're going on a media blackout till after the safari. And once we have finished this evening's safari, we will go and pretend to watch it like it's live, so we can shout at the referee and the TV. And I'm very much hoping the Springboks manage to pull off a win today. New Zealand are the number one side in the world. But there's always a chance, and that's the great thing about competitions like the World Cup that are knockout competitions. It's any man's game on the day. Okay, guys, well, let's say goodbye to the sleepy cats, and we'll definitely be back here a little bit later on the Sunset Safari, and hopefully they'll be a little bit more mobile. I think we've seen about as much movement as going to happen for the next 2 hours, I would guess. Bye-bye, kitties. Leaving one station with their Gormers, two making their way. I'll come back a bit later. Hello everyone. How are we, Andrew? Good, good. Well, thanks very much, Jack. Jack just says there was a big elephant bull at the Djuma waterhole camera about 20 minutes ago. So he's not there now, but he can't be too far away. So what we're going to do is we'll go check on that young buffalo that seems to be with the old boys at the waterhole. And then we'll also go have a look for that Ellie. And I do love a big elephant bull. And today, as a little, right behind our camp, while we were busy fixing cars, an elephant bull walked up to the edge of the camp. So I took the ladies from Final Control, Andrew, Brian and Eugene, on a little walk, and we walked up to that big elephant bull. We probably we stood and watched him feed from about 15 meters away. A really, really nice experience, and also great for some of our staff who are not out in the bush on every drive. They do watch the drive, but it's not the same sometimes as being there real, so a little treat for them. Andrew did pop some pictures up of that on social media today, so always nice to have a visitor, and especially a distinguished old gentleman like that. He was very, very relaxed, and he just carried on feeding while we stood there watching him. So I've just had a little birdie in my ear, so that elephant bull could be on Vuurtela access at the moment. And we're actually heading right there I wonder if it's the same gentleman who visited the rest of the WildEarth crew at camp while we were busy reattaching aerials this morning. And we are incredibly blessed with such an amazing team. And we have had some quite frustrating times technically and mechanically with the vehicles and signal over the last couple of days, but a true testament to our whole team and what a wonderful group of people they are. Everyone went above and beyond over the last few days to get everything fixed. Andrew and Brian and Eugene fiddling with aerials and signals, James fiddling under cars and getting drenched in oil, and the final control girls offering support and help and keeping us in check and making sure we're out there on time every day. And of course, Mama Z, who makes sure we don't make a mess and don't revert to student-like living quarters. And yeah, Andrew giggling in the background there. I don't know if you heard that.
Viva Mama Z!
Yeah, here we go. Andrew just said, Viva Mama Z, which is basically go Mama Z or up Mama Z. It's an old Zulu word, Viva. Okay, Andrew, you looking for that LED bulb?
Yes.
So I wonder whereabouts exactly on Vuyatela Axis it was and who saw it. Shall find out. And it looks like the weather has fortunately drifted away before the safari. I don't think we're in any threat of precipitation. I'm not seeing an elephant. Well, let's check a bit further along. And I've just got an update that I need to pass on to James. So if Final Control could get James to call me on the Game Drive radio, please. Just got a little update about where the wild dogs might be. So send James around there to have a look. Oh, Andrew, I'm not seeing any elephant tracks here. Are you?
Negative.
Negative. Well, we can still check up towards Sandy Patch. When we're out on these drives, in between the different segments, Andrew and I have an ongoing photography competition. And so we both have the exact same camera and the exact same lens. So all's fair on those parts. But we put it to the vote around camp. Unfortunately for Andrew, he's not winning much. I just need to chat to James quickly. James, I just got an update from Food or from Craig that there's some roads to the north of Red Dam. That's where they were lying up. They had caught, I think it was a young kudu there. Yeah, just passing on the information. Okay, so well, we're still on WildEarth access and still no sign of this elephant bull and not even a track. So I know you guys were wondering about that young buffalo. And the Juma Dam is down there, so that's that direction there. And I think the herd it possibly came from is crossed here, but they crossed very quickly straight through our property in the rain this morning, and they had the look of being harassed by lions. Ah, yes, some elephant tracks. So information we received about that elephant was that it was on the other side of the access, wheelchair access, not on this side. He's apparently now right outside the final control. Let's go see if we can find him. See, yeah, how pretty the clouds are as they break up. Sorry, just listening to that. Alright, push radio. Oh, he disappeared too quickly. There was a black-headed oriole. We'll try to find another one. Yeah, that wonderful chortling call. I'm not very good at that. I'll leave the musical stuff to Jans. I'll stick to the tracking stuff and the being tall stuff and having hair stuff. Ooh. Oh, low blows there.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. Let's see if any returned. Andrew, can you see that?
Big it is.
Up in the sky, it's quite big. You can't really miss it. It's quite an important. If it wasn't there, we might get flooded. Well, most major cities on the coast of the world might get flooded. You know what I'm talking about yet, Andy?
It's hiding.
Oh, it just went behind a cloud. There was a very nice view of the moon, but it disappeared behind a cloud, but the clouds are moving, so we will have another look. So there's this really funny internet hoax that does the rounds every year, pretty much for the last 10 years. It used to be an email hoax, and now obviously it's a Facebook, Twitter hoax. They have a picture of the supermoon that will appear sort of 200 times the size, so basically like this, in our sky on X date, whatnot. And it's unbelievable, but lots of people get caught by it, even some of our staff, including our cameraman there. So I remember him showing this to me and saying, "This is amazing, are we going to sit up and watch it?" I'm like, Andrew, even with a supermoon, you cannot see with your eyes that it's bigger than it is when there is a supermoon. And if the moon suddenly became this big in our screen, the world would be in such pandemonium. The gravitational pull would affect all the tides. New York City would be gone underwater. LA would be gone. Durban would be gone. Cape Town. We'd be safe. Quickly across to James and the dogs.
Hello everybody, quick one. Welcome to my little version of the Sunset Safari. Here or not, we have the dogs. Brent Leo Smith firing the first salvo of the day. We are obviously claiming the second salvo with the Africa's second most endangered carnivore, the magnificent painted wolf of Africa, the wild dog. Little problem. They are in a block of land, very thick with trees, and in front of us is a small drainage line that I think is going to be a little bit difficult to get across. That said, I don't think those dogs are going to move very far because it is quite warm. They were asleep. I disturbed them on foot. I got off and walked just up there, and they went and then they wandered off through there, and Brian smiled heartily from the back of the vehicle. Up there is a hooded vulture, and that hooded vulture, I think, was feeding on the remains of a kudu that they killed earlier today. Now, for those of you perhaps new to this, there are 3 adult dogs in this pack and 11 little pups. And for them to have taken down a kudu, I don't know if it was an adult or not, it's still quite impressive, even if it was quite a young one. So that's a hooded vulture. And what we're going to do is just make our way. We might actually try and, we won't get through this drainage line here, we'll get very stuck. We're going to make our way a little bit along here and see if we can't get in just around the corner there. So, good news, I don't think they're going to go very far at the moment. So we'll just quickly have a look, and of course I don't know if Brent has mentioned this, I suspect he probably has. Of course today, while I'm driving, I will just wish the best of luck to the great Springbok rugby team who are taking on the mighty All Blacks of New Zealand today in the Rugby World Cup semi-final. The All Blacks being the #1 side in the world at the moment. That's why I'm speaking like I am now. This drainage line is not, as they say, for ants. On that note, Lisa W. were asking what Go Bokke means. Lisa, you may have seen that. Go Bokke means go. I mean, good luck. Bokke is like a shortening for Springbok, and Springbok is our national animal, and indeed the name of the national rugby side, Springboks. Yeah, we could try it, but I fear me there's an easier place just up there. Okay, I think we can get across just a little bit further up there. The other great thing about where these dogs are is that everyone else in Arathusa, that's where we are right now, seems to be a little bit nervous of coming into this area because of the drainage line and the number of trees, and they're all in pretty big Land Cruisers, you see, and so for them to move around here is quite difficult. Right, so let's head back across to Brent. He'll show you a few more things. There's no need for you to watch me get stuck, and I'll see you just now, hopefully, with that beautiful pack of dogs.
So we've managed to find this beautiful big Ellie bull. We're just trying to reposition so we can do a walk by of us. It is the same guy we walked this morning. And he's actually walking through the old fireside chat area now. Oh, look at that beautiful sky. I hope you guys are getting some good screen grabs. Let's move around. There he goes. Oh, he's such a nice, calm bull. Proper gentleman. Hello, big boy. Isn't that incredible? He's on a mission. So there's that marula that fell down a few days ago. He might be heading off to feed on that. It looks like some other eddies have taken advantage of it. So we're going to go around and try see where he's off to. He's got that almost like a water walk. He's on a mission. He's going somewhere. Where, we're not sure yet. He's not in must, so it doesn't look like he's chasing females.
Station leading to home is item of up, so hopefully making noise.
So when big trees fall over, and that one's even too big for an elephant to push over, quite often a lot of animals will take advantage of that, feed off the leaves. Kudu, elephant, impala, but no, looks like he's walking straight past. Hopefully he doesn't go into this thick drainage line. He is. Don't you love it when you call it right? And he's now stopped at that fallen down marula. Looks like he's going to take advantage of that. You can see how the other elephants have fed and broken it all over here in front of him. So, from the biggest animal we get here to both James and my most favorite animal.
Yeah, affirmative. Hello, everybody. There we go. I'm just going to quickly update everybody on the radio so you enjoy the beauty of this wonderful pack, and I'll get back to you now. Yeah, affirmative. Where the tracks came off this morning on Parallel Road, they were just literally where those tracks stop on the drainage line, just west of that, and they're now lying up in a clearing west of that. So I don't know if there's access from the road to the west of this.
Okay, copy, thanks for that. Is anyone going to go into James?
Isn't that wonderful, everyone? And to have them, they wouldn't normally be lying out in the open like this because it's quite cloudy. It hasn't been a very hot day. It's been a very humid day, but a very pleasant sort of 27 degrees or so. They haven't gone far, and they're lying out in the open, which they wouldn't be if it was very sunny, of course. Marvelous, wonderful, wonderful gift for the Saturday afternoon that is. I was just quickly consulting my map application on my phone to make sure that I was giving the correct directions to the other rangers here. And that bird that you saw, I don't know if you saw it as you came across, that was again the hooded vulture, which will be looking for scraps. And I've seen one of the adults has just come up to them. Most of those, of course, are the little ones. Isn't that wonderful? Now, although they are lying down, not doing a great deal, that's okay. It is so rare to see them. We are so lucky to see them as often as we do. There are probably fewer than 400 in the entire Kruger National Park, so that's 35,000 square kilometers, or 3.5 million acres, or at least hectares, or 8 million acres. That's probably only 400 of them. And there are 2 packs that run around the Sabi Sands. This is the only one that I've seen here. This is called the Investec pack. He used to be 4 adults. One got bitten by a snake and died, unfortunately, which is a pretty unusual occurrence, actually. And now there are 3 adults, and they've successfully raised these 11 pups to about 3 months old. Remarkable achievement, I think. And the adults are around here somewhere. We had the one there. probably in the shade. I can't see exactly if these are all pups. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just try and count them if you can, everyone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now these just seem to be the little ones. There was an adult just to the left-hand side of your screen, and I suspect that's where they are, probably lying in the shade. We will sneak a little bit closer now and see if we can't spot the adults. So they'll lie like this, I think, probably for the next little while, and then they'll get up and they'll try and go hunting. Now, we're quite close to the northern boundary of Arathusa, which we can't cross. It will depend very much on where they go, whether we are able to follow them on the hunt or not. And as many of you will know, to follow wild dogs on the hunt is possibly the most exciting thing in the world. There are the adults through there. What I'll do is park so that we can look at both. Well, I'll try. Oh, sorry, little chaps. Just a little bit nervous of us. Have you got a picture of the adults there? Not really. Okay. I think we're going to just stick with the pups. We know where the adults are, so let's just stick with the pups here and enjoy them. And we've got a wonderful question from a young viewer, and I say this a lot, but I really do mean it. It's great to have inquiries from young minds who are interested in the wild and its creatures. And Ember, you are just 5, and you want to know, what do wild dogs eat? Well, Ember, I don't know if you've got a dog at home, but you'll know that your dog, if you do, you know your dog will like bones to eat, so they like to eat bones, but mainly they like to eat meat. And so if they can get any kind of meat, they will eat that, but it needs to be fresh meat. And so they do hunt twice a day, especially to feed all these hungry little mouths. They will hunt twice a day. Thank you, Ember. Keep watching. Enjoying the dogs. And we've watched a lot of predators in the last little while. We've seen the lions, and there's been tremendous upheaval there. We've seen hyenas a lot, and leopard. And a quite common inquiry is around A, cannibalism, and B, whether other predators will eat each other. So we do know that lions will eat hyenas. Sometimes they leave them, sometimes they don't. We know that hyenas are cannibalistic sometimes. That's only if a hyena dies, they will perhaps eat it. And that's been pointed out by Melissa in Los Angeles. Thank you, Melissa. You want to know if wild dogs are the same. I don't know if there are any records of cannibalism in wild dogs. They are far less scavengers than leopards or lions or hyenas. They don't scavenge much. They like to eat fresh meat. They're a bit, even cheetah will scavenge more than wild dogs will. They will take a kill. If a hyena, say, makes a kill and it's a very fresh kill, they'd take it, or if a leopard made a kill, they'd take that away if it was fresh. But they won't scavenge on sort of long dead things like so many of the other predators out here. So I think what you'll find is that they probably don't engage in any kind of cannibalism. I don't know of any, but it is possible. Now, I told you a bit of an untruth yesterday. Well, Brent and I had a debate about it, and I think Brent may well be right. Yesterday, someone asked whether they would go and regurgitate. I think it was from Canada this inquiry came, if I'm not mistaken, from Toronto. That's as near as I can pin it, about whether or not these dogs would be taken to the kill, or whether they'd still be fed by regurgitation. And I said no, probably just by regurgitation. I don't think that they were being taken to the kill. I may be wrong. I think if they make a big enough kill, they probably will take the pups to the kill. They are starting to run with the pack. So I think maybe they're also doing a little bit of hunting with the pack. Maybe they're coming on the hunt, and when it starts to get going, they stop. And then the adults make the kill and perhaps go back and fetch them. The thing is, they are so noisy. And because they're so noisy, Sorry, I smashed my eye with a bush as we came through the drainage line. Because they are so noisy, they've got to eat very quickly. So they kill and they tear whatever they're eating apart, but they make that loud chirping sound, and that if hyenas hear that, they know exactly what's up, and they run for the dogs. And so I think you'll probably find that there's limited taking the pups to the kills unless the kills are pretty close by. Now, Matthew, you're another young viewer, and sorry, the radio's going ballistic. You are aged just 9, and you want to know if there is any kind of den still, and where it is, and is that why we're seeing them so often. Matthew, when the pups are running at this age, they're not actually in the den anymore at all. So there's no den. When they are resting, they'll stay like this, near by the adults, and if the adults are not around, you'll find they'll be in some very thick bush. I mean, they were thick bush when we found them, and close to where I got out of the car. And we didn't see them because they were so well hidden. So Matthew, at this age, they're not in a den. We're seeing them so often because they will be in an area for as long as they can if there's good food. So they'll stay around if there's good food, and then when the food runs out or it gets difficult to hunt, then they will move on. I'm just going to give a quick update. Just going to try and get an update. Stations, the pack is just west of where they were this morning, about 300 meters south of the junction Simbambili Cutline and Parallel Road. They are on the, if you follow the tracks in there, you'll get to where they are, but I don't think you're going to cross that drainage line. So best approach is to try and get into that position from the road to the west, which I think is called Southern Fork. One station here, one responding.
Okay, copy that. I would like to make my way. I'll take my one about 3 then.
Right, so another nice question. I've actually forgotten the question entirely. It'll come through, sorry. From Lynn in Texas. Thank you, Lynn. Sorry, not Lynn, Diane in Texas. There's all these things going on in my ear, frying my brain. Diane, it's a very interesting question, it's a very important one, and I don't know that we fully understand it yet, to be honest. You want to know about dispersal, and will these puppies stay with the pack? They won't. They might stay for a year. Well, they will stay for almost a year. Then what normally happens is that the males go off on their own and the females go off on their own, and they'll join up with other dispersing pups from another pack. And that's the basic way it starts. Now, I suspect in a little pack like this, I think you'll find that the less dominant ones of the offspring may stay in this pack and help to raise next year's litter. I think you might find that happens. So let's see what happens, Diane, with this pack. Hopefully we'll spend a lot more time with them over the next little while. Now, the Latin name for a wild dog is Lycaon pictus, which means painted wolf. As far as I understand it, the wolf from which all domestic dogs have sort of been selectively bred, from tiny little handbag living chihuahuas right up to the Irish wolfhound, come from the wolf. Now, the Latin name of the wolf is Canis lupus. And so what you find, James Bear in Kansas, an interesting query from you: can they interbreed with domestic dogs like, say, a coyote can? James, they can't. You'll find that animals within a different genus can't interbreed with each other. The domestic dog comes from the Canis genus. A jackal, for example, also comes from the Canis genus. And a jackal is the closest thing that we have to a coyote here. I'm not sure where I'm assuming the coyote comes from the same genus. So while a jackal is actually more closely related to a domestic dog than is one of these wild dogs. And I don't think that a jackal can even interbreed with a domestic dog. Sometimes animals within the same genus are able to interbreed.
So just apply to the other ones too.
Okay, cool.
It sounds like they got some Nyari there by Osho, and then the Madaj located like almost the place like where they were this morning.
And then we had the only way we know that the other adult, as you heard me mentioning perhaps, that the other adult from the pack was killed by a snake was because of an autopsy that was done. And because they're so endangered, as Yasmin in Las Vegas has asked, because they are so endangered, they will absolutely be taken off for autopsy if they are found dead. I really do want to know anything that affects them, and domestic dog diseases definitely affect them. So while they can't necessarily interbreed with domestic dogs, well, they definitely can't, they are affected by domestic dog diseases. Rabies and canine distemper are a major problem, and because the Kruger National Park, of course, is quite a thin strip of land, and there are lots of people living on the western borders, you'll find that these dogs sometimes do come into contact with domestic dogs, and that's been one of the major problems in keeping them keeping their numbers up, because they roam so wildly. They don't see fences. I mean, they'll dig under or find a drainage line and dig their way through. If they want to go through a fence, they'll get through it. So yeah, it's not a great thing for them to come into contact with domestic animals at all. So absolutely we need to study that further. And so Yasmin, if we find a dead dog, yes, we definitely do a very stringent autopsy. So lovely also that they don't seem to they don't lie down and do nothing like some of the lions do. I'm sure you saw the lions earlier today. And you'll also notice while they've got them all out in the open here that they're the same sort of size. Now, they're the same sort of size because, as Donna in Maine, where I'm sure it's starting to get a bit chilly. Donna, you wanted to know, are they from the same litter? Well, you can see they're the same size. They are absolutely from the same litter. The alpha pair in a pack will deliver 1 litter a year with any luck. If there is a beta pair in a bigger pack, they might also breed. Sometimes those pups will survive and sometimes they're killed by the alpha pair. But this would be the alpha pair that's bred here, and there were 12 to start with and there are 11 now. All from the same litter, from the same mother. It must be quite something to give birth to 12 little babies, I would imagine, and then to feed them and send them to school and clothe them, and I mean all the sporting equipment and that sort of thing is dreadfully, dreadfully expensive business. I was just saying, look. Little one is now trying to chase a laughing dove. And Gilly, as you say, in Wisconsin, well, you are talking from Wisconsin, and we know you're not speaking about Wisconsin. It's so great to hang out with these pups because you can spend a bit extended period watching them, as opposed to with the adults who are often moving at a great speed through the bush, and then there is high action, high noise. But as you say, to study their individual little characteristics like we're able to do here, and pick out the different markings and eventually be able to, oh, look at this is so sweet. He's close by now, just about 4 meters, 12 feet. I'm a little bit nervous now. Perhaps we'll be an alpha one day, a bit braver than the others. So Gilly, as you say, lovely to spend time with the pups, identify them, learn the different characters that they have. So he's obviously quite adventurous. So they're about 3 years old now, and when they're approaching a year old, normally they will leave the pack. Now, we've got another young viewer, Dr. Debbie's son Alex, aged 12, a little bit older than some of the others. Thank you, Alex, for your question. You want to know how many might stay with the pack? I don't know. There's no fixed number. We can't tell at this stage, and that's because the adult is, it's a very small pack. So I really couldn't say. I would say probably 3 or 4 of them will stay behind. Let's try, while they're lying, well, it's difficult to tell while they're lying here, but let's try and sex them. Let's try and find out how many males and how many females there are. I don't think that'll make a difference necessarily to who stays and who goes, but I think it would be interesting to know what the ratio of male to female pups is. It should be about 50%. Thanks for that, Alex. Good question. Just so much more entertaining than flat lions, I find. Lions on the hunt are extremely exciting, but lions lying doing nothing quickly lose their appeal for me, I find. Look at them playing there with a little guarri bush. That is the toothbrush tree. Perhaps they know that too. So that's a little male, the one that we saw walking around. And I'm not sure about those two at the back there. I'll look with my powerful binoculars. There we go, that's a male on the left-hand side that you can see. Can't see the other one. There's another male, that's the male there in picture. So we've got at least 3 males. You can tell that by looking between their legs. Obviously, that's the only real way. The males and females are the same size. Or pretty much the same size, you can hardly tell the difference. I'm just going to, I think someone's trying to call me on the radio. No, no one's calling me, we're okay. There's another one getting up, let's try and sex that one. That is another male. So we're on to 1, 2, 3, 4 of these are males at least. I haven't seen a female yet. We've got 4 males. That's the male we knew about. Now they're all going to get mixed up, of course, so it's going to be impossible to tell what's going on. So we know at least 4 males. Marvellous stuff. And I thought there, Andrew, at least, Brian, can you just go a little bit to the one second from the back there? There's a leaf stuck to that one there, and I bet some of you saw that. I saw it when they first walked in, or when we first drove in, and I thought, oh dear, there's some kind of horrible injury on the side of that one. I'm very glad to see that it is in fact just a rusty coloured leaf, a little bit like the innards of Rusty the car. So this is called the Investec Pack, and Tom in Missouri and Jacqueline in Georgia. That's got quite a nice ring to it. Tom in Missouri and Jacqueline in Georgia. Welcome. Thank you for your question. Why is it called the Investec Pack? A very salient and excellent question, to which I have a vague answer. Investec is a small private bank in South Africa, where people like me do not bank. We are not considered high net worth enough. But those who are slightly higher net worth bank with Investec, and they have a kind of, they've got a social responsibility fund, and I think that they've put quite a lot of funding into this particular area and into wild dog research in this area. So I think that's why it's called the Investec Pack. Go ahead. Station on Southern Fork coming. Rodney, I think you've gone too far north. You come back south. I did get your audio, and you just head east from there when I tell you.
Okay, copy it, thanks.
I'm just going to try and guide these guys in here because we're in the middle of a fairly large block. Now,
Standby number 3 available for you.
Go ahead. Standing by, James, standing by. Oh dear, I'm not copying him.
James, have you got my audio at all?
No, negative, not at the moment. Someone did drive past on, I think, Southern Fork Drive. I'm not sure who that was.
Yes, I'm on Southern Fork at the moment. Just see if you can copy my rev.
No, negative. I think, how far from the junction with the Sibambili Katlan are you?
Far away, you close up there.
Yeah, we're probably about 300 meters to the south of that. 300 or 400 meters.
Okay, thanks. I'll come a little bit further north. Thanks, James.
Right, okay. Sorry about this, everybody, but
I think the order got
very,
in Rodney.
very important thing, this.
I'm much more close to you. Please say so. I'll come to your side.
And you can hear everybody's now panicked about getting in here, desperate to show their guests these dogs with good reason. I mean, to be able to show your guests this is just wonderful. It just does mean that sometimes it gets a little bit hectic, but that's okay. So I can hear him coming along there.
You know what? Can I have out this?
A fascinating query here. How do you determine what the alpha is? Jennifer in Toronto. Oh dear. Hang on a second, Jennifer, I'll get back to you. Head east from there, Rodney, head east from there. So, Jennifer, you want to know how the alpha is selected. It is normally a male, well, it will be a male and a female, and as you correctly say, it's normally determined by personality. Now, what determines that personality, I really don't know. I think possibly at the beginning of life, it's got something to do with size, but you can see they're such similar sizes. I think it's probably about as easy to determine as what kind of human being becomes a good leader and what doesn't. There are lots of people who will tell you that they know, but they don't. I don't believe that you can tell which humans are necessarily going to become good leaders and which aren't. And I think it's the same with these dogs. As you can see, they're all the same size, all born at the same time. And so we're watching these doggies now, and I use the term doggy because they're pups, and we're watching them and we're wondering, you know, this is the first time I've spent this level of time with them and been able to watch a little bit of their personalities. And a couple of queries about, you know, can you tell who's going to be who? And Ellen in Arkansas, you want to know, are you able to tell from just watching them? Ellen, yes, you can, for sure. If you watch them, if you spend enough time watching them, you will definitely be able to start to pick out who's dominant and who isn't, and who's alpha and who isn't. And that will definitely do that for you. A little bit more difficult though, because they're wild dogs, they move around such a lot, so we don't necessarily have a huge amount of time with the pups like this. So let's try and pick out that young male that got up to chase the doves. I think that's already showing signs of some kind of dominance, or certainly initiative, if you like. I think the alpha male is more they eventually do become dominant, but they're certainly the dogs that show the most initiative. And a familiar name from North Carolina. Gene, you want to know how old the dogs are and how old the pups are. I don't know how old the adults are. I put them probably around 3 or 4 years, and they don't often live beyond 5 years, you know, out here. They can sometimes live up to 7 or 8 years, but out here they seldom survive beyond 5. So let's put them at 3 or 4, and these little pups are only 3 months. So they're July, August, September, October, yeah, about 3 months old. Oh, there's one going to the loo. That's very exciting. And I don't know when they get their adult teeth. Lisa, you want to know if they have their adult teeth yet? I think they get them at about 3 months, so you'll probably find that they're starting to get them. I would say probably not yet. Certainly in a domestic dog, when do the adult teeth come? The adult teeth come, well, probably about 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6 months actually. I think they probably don't have their adult teeth just yet. But they will certainly be eating meat. They will not be suckling. Lovely, wonderful young minds, and the way they think, I absolutely love it. Isabella, you're aged just 4 years, and you want to know if we threw a ball at them, would they play with it? Isabella, I think they might, you know. I don't think it would be like they would play with a ball, like your dog at home might play with a ball, but they might well sort of pick it up and fight over it, but I don't think they'd play fetch. So if you threw a ball, I don't think they'd bring it back to you. They might go and fetch it and then eat it and play with it for a while amongst themselves, but they wouldn't bring it back to you. So a little bit like a dog that my father used to have, a marvellous little fellow called Trubshaw. Trubshaw used to fetch the ball, but he never used to give it back. And I think these dogs would do precisely the same thing. And that's not to say my father had a wild dog. He wasn't a wild dog. Now, a very nice inquiry from our favourite work bunker. That's Shamrock. Shamrock, it's Saturday today, so I'm hoping you don't have to be at work and watching us on the sly. You want to know about the mottled colouring. First of all, is there another animal that has it? And B, why do they have it? Shamrock, I'm going to throw the question back at you and ask you to think about looking at the back of that animal that you're looking at now. Tell me what kind of light it looks like to you. If it looks like anything kind of familiar. And while you're thinking about that for the next 20 seconds or so, I'll just tell you that there aren't any other animals around that have the same coloration as the wild dogs. That's because they're the only hunting canid here. Canid dogs, jackals do a little bit of hunting, but mostly they do scavenging. These guys, of course, are the only hunting canids. So, Shamrock, your 20 seconds is now up. I think what you'll find is that they're coloured like this purely for camouflage. They look like dappled light, and if you look at the light around where they're sitting, it does kind of diffuse nicely in with them. We didn't see them lying in the shade. They couldn't have been, what, Brian, 20 meters from us? We didn't see them lying in the shade. So I'm pretty sure it's purely for camouflage that they are this colour. Remember, their main hunting time, I'm of the opinion that, you know, come the summertime, because there's so much vegetation, the need for camouflage is far less. But their main hunting time, when they're trying to raise these pups in the den, is during the winter. When it's grey, the bush is grey, there's a bit of there are a few leaves around, but it's kind of grey, and you get that diffused light through the trees. And I think, you know, they mostly live in woodland around here, not very open areas, and I think you'll find that's why they are that colour. I am very open to suggestions, though. If somebody else has a better suggestion, let me know. Wonderful name and a wonderful question, again from North Carolina. Tudley, aged 8. Tudley, you look after that name. I think it's a marvellous name. I'm assuming that's Tudley. Tudley, you want to know that they have different... Chudley, Chudley. Okay, I've not heard that name before, Chudley. Hang on to it, it's a good one. So you want to know, are the dogs different colours? if you look at them, just look at them carefully, Chudley, and you can see they absolutely are different colours. They don't resemble each other at all. It would be much more amazing if they did look the same. But like zebras, everybody says, well, you know, it's so amazing that zebras have got different coloured, you know, no two zebras look the same. Well, it's not really that amazing. It would be far more amazing if they had the same coloration. There's two little chaps having a bit of a fight. Now, that kind of behaviour will eventually determine alpha and beta status. So you might find that one lying on the ground, showing early signs of submissive behaviour, you might find that one will become an omega or beta dog, and the other one might become an alpha, or certainly higher up in the pecking order. So that was a female there that was showing that kind of dominance behaviour. And a big thing, of course, with the cats out here is quite a lot of inbreeding. And it happens... Ooh, look at that. So we do get inbreeding with the cats especially, but with the dogs I think it's far less likely. So Lynn, not amongst the puppies, no, they won't inbreed. I think you'd probably find you could get away with a generation or two of inbreeding, but you know, because they disperse in separate sex groups, it's unlikely that they would ever interbreed with each other. And they do move such huge distances that it's unlikely they would ever sort of it's unlikely they'd form a pack together that would eventually result in inbreeding. So Lynn, I don't think it would happen. Now, I was just saying earlier that there are about 450 dogs left around the Kruger area. That's not a lot. In the whole world, probably about 3,500 if we're lucky. And Lindsay in Indiana, you know, with those numbers, you want to know, Candy in Indiana, can they be saved from extinction? Candy, sorry, I'm really what happened there? Sorry, I'll tell you exactly what happened there, everybody. The tracker on the other vehicle snapped a stick off the tree and the dogs got a bit of a fright. That's okay, no harm done. Sorry, Sandy in Indiana. Can they be saved from extinction? I don't know. The numbers fluctuate up and down from 3,000. There are certainly animals in far worse state, you know, the Amur tiger, for example, the Amur leopard. There are 50 left. The Amur tigers, there are probably about 250 left. So these guys are in better shape than that. I mean, it's really, if they're left alone and their habitat isn't continually destroyed by human beings trying to dig the ground out for minerals and gases and oils and chop the trees down so that they can grow food for themselves, they might survive. But you know, the human population isn't showing any signs of slowing down yet. Many people say by 2052 that will happen and it will start to dip. But at this stage there's 7 billion of us and 3,000 of them, and I don't think as human beings we even can conceptualize of a number as big as 7 billion. If you were to count to 7 billion, it would take you much more than your lifetime. You wouldn't be able to count that high within the space of your lifetime. So that's how many 7 billion is. 3,000 would take you a couple of hours to count to. So, yeah, they're in dire straits, there's no question. Wilderness is in dire straits still, because there are so many people. So, some lovely information coming in from Elise that there were 13 and not 12 originally. Okay, so we've lost we've lost 2 pups. That's not unusual, and that's why they have so many. And Sarah in Ohio, can you just watch what's going on here? I want to know how many pups can be produced in 1 litter. Sarah, I think you'll find probably about 18 is the maximum. I think that's the maximum that has been recorded. I have seen a pack with 24 youngsters in it though, so possibly up to 24. So that, I mean, that's enormous. That's a huge number. I think that's probably very unusual though. And I think you'll find that possibly in a pack that big, that the beta has also had pups. Just very special. I'm just going to get an idea of who is coming to the sighting, because we might not be able to stay the whole afternoon on our own here. How many stations are looking to get into this pack sighting?
4 family.
Okay, copy that. There's space for 1 more here now. How close is standby 2? Rodney's just left. Doug is here. So space for standby 1 to come in. Where is standby 2 now? Copy that. Sorry, I don't know where that is. How long will it take you to get here? Okay, that's cool. I'll move out for you when you get here. Right, so we're going to spend probably another 5 or 10 minutes here. And sorry, this radio's going crazy again. That's perfectly normal. We'll spend another 10 minutes here, and then I'm afraid we are going to have to make space. We're on Arathusa, and thankfully they're all doing very well, which means that there are lots of guests around, lots of game drives driving around, people having a marvellous time out here with all the animals. So we'll spend another 5 or 10 minutes here, and then we're going to have to make way. But what a spectacular time we've had. Look at them all playing now. Now this is where we're going to see whether there's going to be some kind of dominance hierarchy. And you can immediately see when they start to show submissive behavior, they'd be lying on the ground, tails would be up. And at the moment, I don't think it's very clear. I think you probably find that one lying on the ground there, having its privates bitten off, is probably an Omega dog. And wild dogs all, if you've noticed, have got very white tails. This is just so wonderful. And Susan, you want to know why that is? Susan, in the Netherlands, well, as you correctly pointed out, I think that they are white so that they can follow each other on the hunt. I think that's precisely why. I did once have a wonderful experience. We had a place, or not a place, we used to work at a place called Ngala, not too far from here, and there was a pack there, and the alpha dog had a black tail tip, and so they were easily recognizable. But these are all white-tailed, as you can see, and that absolutely is, I'm sure, to help them to follow each other when they're on the hunt. There, I think that one in the middle there would become an Omega dog. There we go. Now we're seeing a little bit of hierarchy developing. There we've got a submissive dog. 3 of them trying to get on top of him, or her. That's quite interesting. Look at that now. I wouldn't say that anything is set in stone at this stage. I think they're all having a good play at the moment. Shamrock, looking at their mottled colouring, you want to know if it stays the same or if it changes. No, I think it stays pretty much fixed, Shamrock. That will change a little bit as they're different, as their proportions change. So you can see their feet are proportionately much larger than they would be as adults. So that'll change a little bit. But you'll find that if you've got a good picture of one of them now, I think as an adult you'll be able to recognize them. And certainly the Kruger Park encourages all the tourists to take pictures of the dogs so that they've got a record. I think they've got a record of every single dog in the pack, at least in the park, which is just remarkable. There they go. Just like domestic dogs having a play. It's just so wonderful to see. Listen to them tweeting at each other. So they don't sound anything like domestic dogs unless you give them a fright. They did bark at us earlier. One bark. And Gilly in Milwaukee, you're wondering about meal times and how on earth the alpha female managed to suckle all of these 13 and now 11 pups when there's definitely not enough nipple to go around. No, they take turns, and that's where the dominance hierarchy will start to form. Certainly when they're on the hunt now, of course, it's a bit easier. And they'll start eating meat just about, well, probably from about 2 or 3 weeks, they'll start to eat meat from regurgitated meat from the adults. And the other interesting thing that Brent pointed out, and I hadn't thought of for a while, was that they will run and they'll hunt, but normally in a big pack of adults what they do is that they will leave one of the adults with the pack, with the pups, to look after them. Now, in a pack like this, they can't afford to do that. So the fact that these 11 have survived as long as they have, I think is absolutely astonishing. They're all obviously having their afternoon toilet, and this is precisely what just about all predators do this time of the day, just before they're thinking about getting moving. I think you'll find that they'll start to get going pretty soon. It's very thick around here, so to follow these dogs on the hunt here would be very difficult. We're not going to do it today because we're going to move out when the next person gets in here. Now they are voracious meat eaters. And you want to know what they hunt and how often they hunt. They hunt twice a day, morning and evening. They've got a 70% success rate, better than any other predator out here. And what do they hunt? Well, they ate a kudu earlier today. And impala is an excellent kind of size for them to be eating. And so they'll eat anything kind of that size. When these youngsters start to hunt with the pack, you'll find that they may start taking things the size of an adult kudu, maybe a wildebeest, maybe a zebra. But that's pretty much what they eat. Okay, we are going to have to start making our way out of here. So look at them running. Oh, they're chasing a scrub hare. Chasing a little scrub hare. There's a scrub hare going round there.
And
the adults are up.
Yeah, they're coming past us.
Here come there are the adults there.
yeah, right, I think it's me as you look now.
Oh, marvelous. Wasn't that fantastic? Yeah, I think they're going to come back here. Let's just stand by here 1 second. Alright, everybody, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave them now. There are another 2 or 3 vehicles waiting there. We don't want to put pressure on them, and so we are going to leave them. I'm just going to tell them that they can come in. And they're heading in a westerly direction straight into the sun. Stations, I'll be leaving the sighting. I think there are 2 here, 1 moving in. Sounds like 1 more on standby. All right, everybody, what an incredible sighting. I'm sorry we have to leave. Everybody needs a turn. Unfortunately, that is the way of the world. We must be gentlemanly about these things. And I think they'll probably go back to sleep around there, but they'll start to move fairly soon on the hunt. So we had a question about why they need to eat every day when they look so skinny. They do have to eat every day because they have a very high energy requirement. There's 1 more there. I just want to quickly show you there. There's an adult there lying in the grass, away from the others, totally disinterested. Obviously seen this before, been shot in this movie many times, and is just going to have a little relax. Looks very full. Possibly was the last to feed on the kudu earlier. Marvelous. Isn't that great? Right, let's pop across to Brent. He's got something much larger than this, and very exciting. I'll see you just now.
So, Andrew and I have been spending the most splendid afternoon with this big Ellie bull. We've just sat next to him as he's slowly but surely taken apart quite a few different trees, and I know you guys have been having such an exciting time with James and those wild dogs. I am a little jealous, but then again, how awesome is this? He's probably 7 feet from the side of our vehicle and completely unperturbed with us. And you can see on his tusks, there you go, you can see how close he is to us. If I put my hand, you can see, there we go, that's how close he is to us. And that is his finger tickling his nose. And if we have a look, elephants, like human beings, have a preference for a left or right tusk, and this guy is very much left tusk. So his left tusk is the one he uses to strip bark from the trees, and I can see that there now it's quite a bit more worn than the right tusk. Look how he destroying this bush willow. And just watch how he wraps his trunk around the branch, pulling, and there you go. It's incredibly dexterous, and there's a huge amount of muscles in an elephant's trunk, and I wonder if anyone out there knows how many. So why don't you guys let me know how many muscles are in an elephant's trunk. You can do that by sending us an email with your answer to questions@wildearth.tv, or you can hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, and don't forget to share your screenshots as well on the Facebook page, and also on Twitter with the hashtag Safari out, and let's have a nice close look at his eye. See those lovely long lashes that most ladies would be jealous of. And there's a reason a lot of these animals have very long lashes, and it's to protect their eyes. So if they are pushing their head into a thorn thicket to feed, those lashes will sense thorns or sharp objects being near their eyes. Lovely golden light coming through at the moment. And it's so amazing that this animal is so close to us, so strong and so powerful. Yet he completely ignores us, and he might, when he moves off, give us a head shake. But this is the same bull that I took everyone walking into today between drives outside our camp. He hasn't moved far during the day. Look at that. I mean, it's so nice that we're so close. We can get these incredible close-ups of his mouth, of his tusks, of his eye. Not even a head shake, just a casual glance. And a big wrinkly bottom. Andrew, you're in the line of fire there, my friend.
No.
So, speaking of a wrinkly bottom, there was a young elephant bull we saw quite often that we nicknamed Wrinkly Bottom. He had a very unique sort of patch of wrinkles on his bottom. And Mike's wondering, is he still around? Mike, I haven't seen him in a while, but that just means his herd hasn't been around. They could be moving in a different area of the Sabi Sands at the moment. And then if we have a look at his ears while he's facing away from us, and zoom in there, and we can see when he opens up how those huge big veins are in the ears, and they can have up to 8 liters, which is just under 2 gallons of blood in their ears at any one time. And they flap it to cool that blood down and send it through to the rest of their body. And that's their air conditioning system. And that also enables them to move around in the heat of the day where a lot of other animals can't. Especially being a big, dark animal, they need a good air conditioning system, and there it is. Here we go, you can see that those complex network of capillaries. And those of you who've been watching for a while will know this, but those who might be a bit new, elephant males seem to be lacking two very distinct male appendages that generally hang from the body. And elephants' testes are actually inside their body. And Andrew, if you go a little bit higher from where you are, up to the hip bone, and so you can see the hip bone there. So just in front of the hip bone, right up at the top of the back, is where an elephant's testes are. And I was fortunate enough to be invited along as an observer on an experiment, or not an experiment, a trial basically, on a small game reserve to the south of us near the Swaziland border called Sikomvela. And it is a very small sort of 15,000 hectares, and the elephant population was growing too fast for the reserve. So we were along with a bunch of vets from Disney, one who I've worked with on predator conservation and genetic studies and things before, and he is one of the top sort of wildlife surgeons in the world. And we went and I got to witness the laparoscopic vasectomy of an African elephant bull. So what they did is they worked out the percentage. They did not snip all the elephant bulls, but they snipped enough to sort of slow the population down that it would be manageable in the park without having to destroy any of the animals. And it was really fascinating. And one of the positives of a vasectomy, as opposed, there we go, there's the head shake, big boy. Yes, we know you're big, so he's just reminding us he's big. We shouldn't mess with him. But one of the positives of a vasectomy over quite a lot of hormonal treatments, which have been tried in the past, is that the elephants still have their natural must cycles, the females have their estrus cycles, so it doesn't affect their behavior, which what does happen with hormonal treatments. Their behavior can become quite erratic. They don't have their normal estrus and must cycles. And I suppose, like any operation, it is uncomfortable, but for the greater good of the elephant population, it was necessary. And as you can imagine, it's quite a palaver to perform a vasectomy on an elephant, and let alone a laparoscopic vasectomy. So I had to dart him, then get a crane and a truck and hang him next to the flatbed of the truck from a crane, so the doctors could stand near, make the incision, and do the work through the microscope. Or there's a pipe about this big with the camera and the different tools that went in. So I've been very, very lucky in my years around to be able to be witness to some incredible things and be part of some incredible things, like what we're experiencing live right now. We are bringing you African wildlife in real time to wherever you are in the world, sharing a little bit of our home with you. Just so incredibly special. So as the light dips, there's Andrew showing you the tail. Look at that, Andrew's giving you a nice tour of an elephant at the moment. And then you see, even on the outside of the ears, you can see those blood vessels. So we've got some answers in to the elephant quiz. Gary, Liberty and Shannon say about 40,000 muscles. That is very well done, guys. Incredible amount of muscles in that trunk that enables them to